Have you ever thought about a creative engine so big it's actually being called an entire studio?
Yeah, it's a powerful idea.
Well, that's the kind of scale we're talking about with India's media and entertainment industry. And this concept, a studio called India, that was a really central theme at Waves 2025.
And what's really striking is how everything's coming together. You've got
Yeah.
this huge market, over 1.4 billion people.
Right.
This incredibly rich, deep tradition of storytelling in, well, countless forms, and then this rapidly advancing tech sector. It's a very unique mix. Fertile ground, you could say.
Absolutely. And, to really get a handle on what makes India this global M&E powerhouse, we've got the EY report.pdf. It was actually put together specifically for Waves 2025. So think of this deep dive as your streamlined way to understand this booming sector. We'll cover its strengths, the growth drivers, its global impact, but without drowning you in detail.
Exactly. Our aim here is really to pull out the key insights from that report. We want to give you a clear picture of India's M&E landscape and, why it's become such a major player globally.
And just to pique your interest a bit, think about this. 2.8 million media professionals in India.
Wow.
Yeah, and they crank out something like 200,000 hours of original content every year.
Incredible volume.
Plus, we've hit this major turning point with digital media just exploding. Okay, so let's dig into this.
Okay, well, the report makes the sector size pretty clear. In 2024, it went past INR 2.5 trillion.
Which is about, what, US $29.4 billion?
Exactly, and that's contributing 0.73% to India's total GDP, which is significant.
And it's not just where it is now, right? The growth forecast is really something. We're looking at, what, over 7% yearly growth?
Yeah, through 2027, it's expected to hit INR 3.07 trillion, or around US $36.1 billion.
And interestingly, that growth rate is actually faster than India's overall GDP growth forecast.
That's right. It really highlights the dynamism of the M&E sector.
So what's really pushing this expansion?
Well, if you connect it to the bigger picture, a huge driver is India's massive and growing middle class.
Over 1.4 billion people.
Exactly. With rising disposable income. And their appetite, their demand for diverse content, that's just growing and growing. It's a key engine.
And then you can't ignore the digital revolution, obviously.
Oh, definitely not.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. 2024 was like a pivotal year.
The inflection point.
Yeah, for the first time, digital media revenue actually overtook television revenue.
Became the biggest segment. Over INR 800 billion, that's US $9.4 billion roughly.
Making up 32% of the whole M&E sector. What are the sort of wider implications of that shift? It's more than just people watching online, right?
Oh, absolutely. That shift is, well, it's monumental. It reflects more than just better internet access or cheaper data.
Right.
It's also about the sheer number of smartphones, connected TVs out there.
Yeah.
This digital dominance, it gives consumers so much more choice, more control.
So traditional players have to adapt.
Exactly. They're forced to rethink their content, their distribution models. It's a big shakeup.
And it's not just Indian companies driving this, is it? The report makes a point about the big global M&E players being very active in India.
Yeah, all the familiar names are there. Google, Meta, Netflix, Prime Video, Disney. The list goes on. They clearly see the potential.
Huge potential.
Their presence really underlines India's increasing importance, not just as this giant consumer market, but more and more as a key hub for actually creating content and for tech innovation, too.
Right. And speaking of creating content, India really does operate on a massive scale. You mentioned 200,000 hours of original content a year.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around sometimes.
What goes into that number? What kind of content?
Well, what's fascinating is the sheer variety and volume. You're looking at over 1,600 films produced annually.
1,600.
Yeah. And then specifically for OTT platforms, streaming service.
That's Netflix, Prime Video.
Exactly. For them, India produces over 2,600 hours of premium original content every year.
And it's not just the quantity, is it? India is becoming like a go-to place for global production, offering cost savings and scale.
Precisely. The infrastructure is there and it's scalable. Plus, there's a significant cost advantage.
How does that play out for international companies?
Well, look at visual effects, VFX. Indian studios have worked on huge global blockbusters.
Like which ones?
Think Avengers.
Yeah.
Endgame, The Jungle Book, Life of Pi, Frozen, The Lion King, even Madagascar. World-class VFX work happening right there in India.
Wow, I didn't realize the extent of that.
And the cost advantage is a big part of it. For animation and VFX, it can be 40% to 60% cheaper than doing it in the West.
40 to 60%.
Yeah, it's substantial. And it's not just about lower wages, it's backed by a really large, skilled workforce. The report mentions around 250,000 creators and engineers in this space.
Okay, so that leads nicely into the tech advantage. India is known for its IT talent, and that seems to be driving efficiencies in content services too.
Absolutely. That strong tech and IT talent pool is key.
What kinds of services are we talking about here, specifically?
Well, it's a broad range. Things like translation, dubbing, subtitling, the localization stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but also increasingly sophisticated things like advanced VFX, all the post-production work, animation, even building virtual worlds, music design. India is providing really crucial back office and increasingly front office support to the global industry.
And AI, artificial intelligence, seems to be getting adopted really fast.
Incredibly quickly.
Yeah.
Across the board in M&E, it's being used in, well, loads of different ways.
Can you give some examples? How is AI being used on the ground?
Sure. The report points out several areas. One is content generation itself, AI creating video clips, images, text drafts, even music cues.
So automating some of the basic creative tasks.
Kind of. It can generate script ideas, marketing video variations quickly, freeing up human creatives for the more complex stuff. Then there's personalization on OTT platforms, making recommendations better.
And monetization.
Yeah, things like dynamic ad insertion, showing different ads to different viewers of the same show. AI is getting really good at that.
Right, and I saw mentions of AI predicting content performance too, and those AI dubbing services.
Exactly. Predicting audience reception is a big one. And yeah, AI dubbing and voiceovers are advancing rapidly. Companies like Neural Garage, Rephrase.ai, they're pushing the boundaries there.
What about these media capability centers, MCCs? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's another important development. These are basically specialized hubs set up in India.
Hubs for what?
They provide a whole suite of media and content services localization, making sure content meets regulations, post-production, ad tech support, even audience insights. It's quite comprehensive.
And the idea is efficiency, right? Cost savings.
Definitely. The report suggests potential savings of like 10% to 25% a year just by using these MCCs.
Wow.
And maybe even up to 35% if they partner strategically with new service providers within that ecosystem.
So it really positions India as more than just, a place to get tasks done cheaply. It's becoming a strategic partner.
That's a great way to put it. It shows an evolution. It's not just about cost anymore. It's about specialized expertise, innovation, finding solutions.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Two really dynamic areas, gaming and the creator economy. India's gaming scene is just huge.
It's staggering, honestly.
Yeah.
India has about 20% of the world's entire gaming user base.
20%.
And in 2024, something like 15% of all gaming app downloads globally happened in India. That's more than the US and Brazil combined.
Incredible numbers. How many actual gamers are we talking about?
The number of online gamers is around 488 million.
488 million.
Yeah, roughly 35% of the population. And over 110 million of those play daily.
That's serious engagement. It's not just casual mobile games, then.
No, not at all. Engagement is high across different genres. Mobile is big, of course, but esports is growing incredibly fast, too.
And the market value projection.
It's expected to hit US $60 billion by 2034.
60 billion. From what now?
From about US $2.7 billion in 2024. So, yeah, explosive growth projected.
Wow. And tied into this, almost, is the creator economy boom.
Very closely linked, yeah.
Over 4 million influencers in India in 2024.
That's the estimate. And that's a 322% jump since just 2020. Phenomenal growth.
What's the economic value attached to that?
Well, in 2024, it was valued around INR 125 billion.
Okay.
And the projection, reaching INR 500 billion by 2030, brands are really leaning into creator-led marketing now. They see the power of that authentic connection.
And the whole infrastructure around it, the agencies, the platforms, the tools for brands, that's getting more sophisticated too, right?
Definitely maturing. You're seeing specialized influencer platforms, proper talent agencies just for creators, better tools for brands to find and work with them effectively.
It feels like it's moving towards a more professional, sustainable model.
Exactly. Which means more stability, more opportunities for everyone involved, creators and brands alike.
Okay, moving beyond digital for a moment, what about live experiences? Events, concerts, is that growing too?
Oh, yes. The live events segment is also seeing really significant growth.
Oh, significant.
The report projects it'll grow at 19% annually until 2027. 19%.
That's very strong. So more concerts, more festivals.
Yes, increasing numbers and scale,
Yeah.
both domestic and international.
So India's attracting big international artists now.
Increasingly, yes, drawing huge crowds.
Interesting. And what about weddings? The report mentioned that too.
Yes. India as a destination wedding hub. It's leveraging its, amazing exotic locations.
Right.
And coupling that with a really well-developed event management ecosystem. The Great Indian Wedding concept is a huge draw, internationally as well.
So with all this activity, all this growth across different areas,
Yeah.
what's the government's role? Is the regulatory environment helpful?
That's a crucial piece. And yes, the report emphasizes that the government framework is generally very supportive and conducive to M&E investment.
How so?
Well, a big thing is foreign direct investment, FDI. For most M&E subsectors, film production, animation, streaming, gaming, advertising, events, they allow up to 100% FDI through the automatic route.
Meaning less red tape for foreign companies wanting to invest?
Exactly. There are exceptions, mainly for traditional news media and radio, but for most of the growth areas, it's quite open.
And what about protecting the actual creative work, intellectual property? That must be vital.
Absolutely vital for long-term health.
Right.
And India has been making progress there.
In what way?
Well, copyright piracy is clearly recognized as a serious criminal offense, not just a civil issue.
Okay.
And there are specific obligations now on online platforms, intermediaries, to take down infringing content when notified. Plus, they've set up cybercrime cells in different states to tackle piracy locally.
Right. And there's this specific government push called the Create in India initiative.
Yes, that's all about positioning India as the global hub for creative industries, making it the preferred destination.
How does it aim to do that?
A key part is something called the India Scene Hub, or ICH. Think of it as a single-window system
For what?
for facilitating content creation, helping filmmakers, creators navigate permissions, find locations, access incentives, basically streamlining the whole process.
Okay, making it easier to actually produce content in India. You mentioned incentives.
Yeah, apparently around 20 different states in India offer their own incentives to attract productions.
What kind of incentives are we talking about?
It varies. Could be direct subsidies, tax breaks on certain expenses, cash rebates tied to how much they spend locally.
Any examples?
The report mentioned Andhra Pradesh has a cash incentive for low-budget films specifically. Chhattisgarh offers perks for films that promote local culture. Uttar Pradesh gives extra incentives if productions hire local talent, things like that.
And beyond those direct state incentives, are there other financial benefits for foreign producers, like with taxes?
Yes, there are benefits related to goods and services tax, GST, and customs duties.
How does that work?
Well, many of the services and goods foreign productions need are zero-rated for GST.
Meaning they don't pay that tax.
Correct. And they can also get customs duty relief when they temporarily bring equipment into India using something called the ATA Carnet system. Makes it financially smoother.
And India is also actively working with other countries, co-production treaties.
They have treaties with several countries. Australia, Canada, Italy, Korea, Russia are mentioned.
And these treaties help facilitate joint projects.
Exactly. They make it easier to pool resources, share talent, share financing between the partner countries, encourages more international collaboration.
Okay, so we've covered the market, the content, the tech, the regulations. But underlying all of this is talent, right? Skilled people.
Absolutely. The backbone of the whole thing.
Does India have a strong system for developing M&E skills?
It does. There's a robust skilling ecosystem. The Media and Entertainment Skills Council, MESC, plays a really central role.
MESC, okay. What do they do?
They have a network of over 750 accredited training centers across India.
Right.
And they've developed standardized qualification packs, basically skill frameworks, for 12 different M&E segments.
So standardizing training across the country.
Right. And beyond MESC's network, you also have specialized centers of excellence and top universities offering more advanced M&E education.
How many people actually work in the sector now?
The estimate is around 2.8 million direct jobs.
2.8 million.
Yeah. And potentially another 10 million indirect jobs supported by the sector.
And there's room for growth there.
Definitely. Especially in those high-growth areas we talked about, online gaming, digital content, OTT.
Are there any challenges on the talent front? Skill gaps.
Yes. The report does point that out.
Yeah.
There's a need to develop more skills in really cutting-edge areas. Think immersive media like VRR,
Mm-hmm.
high-end VFX, developing those big AAA-level games, advanced AI applications. Those are areas where skill gaps still exist. And addressing informal employment in some parts of the sector is also an ongoing challenge.
Okay. So as we kind of wrap this up, the big picture takeaway seems really clear. India isn't just a huge place to sell media and entertainment anymore.
No, it's much more than that. It's rapidly becoming this strategically vital global hub for actually creating M&E, for driving innovation, and for providing all sorts of essential services that the global industry relies on.
And the foundations for this seem incredibly solid. You've got the massive digitally savvy population,
A deep, diverse storytelling heritage.
a large skilled workforce that's also cost effective,
A government that's actively trying to support the sector.
and this really vibrant tech and startup scene feeding into it all.
It's a really powerful combination. It positions India perfectly, really, to play a major role in shaping where global M&E goes next.
So maybe a final thought to leave everyone with.
Yeah.
Considering this unique blend, India has that deep creativity mixed with rapidly advancing tech. What kind of truly groundbreaking stuff might emerge from this studio called India in the next few years?
Yeah, what innovations could really change the game globally?
It's fascinating to think about. We definitely encourage you, if you're interested, to check out the Waves initiative and maybe even dig into that EYMNEreport.pdf yourselves for a deeper understanding. It's a seriously exciting space to watch.